Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to the Introvert Dating Success Show, courtesy of introvertdatingsuccess.com. I'm your coach, Harry Wilmington. Go to the website to check out more of my eBooks, as well as my free video trainings, and go there now to get my brand new program, which is a collection of my previous podcast, the Stop Losing Women podcast, over 400 shows, 144 hours of content, ready for you to help you become a better dater. So you can get all that at the website and more. Anyway, on today's show, we're going to be answering a question from a guy who wants to know simply, he's a 21-year-old guy and wants to know if it's true that dating gets better as you get older into your 30s, 40s, etc. And it goes a little something like this. He says, there's this idea floating around the internet that a man's 30s is the prime of his life and the best time for dating because then he'll have so many more options. All those girls who turn their noses up at him in their attractive prime will be dying to go out with him. I'm a 21-year-old guy who has had no luck whatsoever with women, and if it really does get better in my 30s, I don't care. At this point, I don't even want the satisfaction. Should I be grateful that I could be the guy who gets the girl after she had her fun in her more youthful years while I was working to establish myself? Like, what the heck? That sounds like such a terrible trade-off. I get to spend my 20s lonely and outcasted so that the same women who ignored me now will be willing to date me in my 30s. Forget that. He uses stronger language than that. By that age, I'll be so much more jaded because I've already given up. Wasn't there a point in time where a girl would stick with a man who was just getting started and support him in his endeavors rather than have her fun throughout her 20s and hit a buzzer beater last second with a guy who she's finally come around to appreciate? Yes, screw the whole dating game. If that's the way things are, then I don't want to partake. Okay, so this is the frustration that a lot of guys have, and especially a lot of younger guys, because for us men, in our late teens to early 20s, we are at our sexual peak, meaning that is when we are the horniest. That's when we're most likely to want to go out there and have as much sex as possible. When you get to the later 30s, like I'm at, your need for that, it's still there, but it's not nearly at the same strong level that it was when you're in your prime and you're wanting all the time. Like now, like back then, it's like, for example, if I had a choice between staying inside and watching a movie or there's a potential for me to get some tail, the movie doesn't even exist. I'm going to get the tail. Nowadays, I'm a little older and I know I have the ability to get it whenever I want to in terms of like knowing the processes I need to do to be able to meet a girl, attract her, and have her come over, to where it's like, if I have the option between getting some or watching a movie, I'll legitimately be like, sometimes, depending on, if I need my alone time or whatever, I could very well easily be like, well, I'm kind of tired tonight. I'm gonna go watch a movie. I'll deal with getting some tomorrow morning or get some other day because it's just not that important. It's just not as important the older you get. So, but I understand those concerns because as a young 20-year-old, 22-year-old, 23-year-old myself, I was very horny all the time, and I wasn't getting any because I didn't lose my virginity until I was 23, and that was also me trying to hold back. But yeah, so it can be very frustrating when you're going after women, and it just seems like the women that are around your same age just don't want you. And the reality is that most women, on average, are looking for guys that are older than them. So if you're in your 20s and you're trying to attract a 22-year-old, well, that 22-year-old is trying to get with, like, on average, a 26-year-old or older. And I knew women back in the day. I knew women in high school who were like 16, 17, dating 25-year-olds. When I was in my late 20s, I knew women who were like 28, 29 that were dating or marrying 40-year-olds. Okay? So there's typically a drive for women to date somebody older. Psychologically, it makes the guy, it makes them feel as though the guy's going to be more prepared with his life, going to have more things situated, and so it's going to make her feel a higher level of comfort than somebody who is realistically still trying to get their life together. You got to think about women in terms of the things that they look for include things like protection, in part because not only does she need to be protected, but if she has kids with the guy, she needs to know that the guy she's with can actually afford to protect them financially, be able to be that strong guy, be confident enough to be able to handle that role. And a lot of guys in their early 20s, unfortunately, don't have that confidence yet. They're still going through school. They're still finding themselves. And there needs to be a phase where you are finding yourself, but that's not a phase that typically has you having a lot of self-confidence, which women partially need to feel that you're going to be secure and safe enough to want to be around. So that just comes with time. And I know in my early 20s to mid 20s, I was nowhere near ready to take on the legit responsibilities that having a relationship has. Like, I still wanted to be kind of like do my own thing and do whatever. So even though I wanted to hook up with girls because I was very, very horny, I knew realistically And it was still annoying, but I still realistically knew I cannot take care of a woman the way that I need to, even if a woman's contributing. Because I know a lot of you guys think like, well, why are you saying the guys to pay for everything or whatever? And it's not about that, because most of the women that I've dated are ones that are willing to contribute or like take me out on dates and pay for things, or, be an equal partner. But again, it's just that thing of like, it's still a thing where women subconsciously are still gonna be looking for that, and you're not there yet. And until you find your way in the world, you legitimately should not be taking on other people. Because if you can't take care of yourself, then you definitely can't take care of somebody else. And you definitely can't even be a support system for somebody else. Like, you could be dating a woman that makes more money than you and can support financially, but there's still gonna be a level there of just because she's making more, you're gonna feel some kind of way about that just as a guy in your ego, whether you want to admit it or not. And that can then affect your attitude towards her and the relationship at large and can still make it go away. So what I have found for myself though is, in my 20s, I dated a little bit, and I say a little bit in comparison to how much I've been able to date in my 30s. I was with a girl for 6 years. I've had like 3 or 4 very long to semi-long-term relationships during that time, and I've been able to go on a lot of dates with women. And it's just the scope of who you're able to date gets a lot bigger as you get older, because you got to think about, like in this guy's message, he's saying, man, like the girls that I'm trying to date now, they don't want to date me, but when I get my 30s, they'll be ready. So let's say you're a 21-year-old guy trying to date a 21-year-old woman. She has the pick of the litter in terms of like the older guys that she can date. And most women, while they're young, are going to take advantage of that. But now let's fast forward to your late 30s. So you're now 37 and she's 37. Now, this is the part where, unfortunately, on the women's side of things, the options that are available to them either start to decline, or there are now options that they don't want to take on for their own egotistical reasons, whether it's like, a 37-year-old woman not wanting to date a 26-year-old guy because it looks kind of weird and what are people going to say? So that unfortunately means her pool starts at probably 37 and goes up, and a lot of older women don't want to date older guys. Like, it's cool for a 25-year-old woman to date a 40-year-old guy, but most 37-year-old women aren't going to date like a 52-year-old guy. Don't get it twisted. They can and will, but I mean in terms of like the options for that dwindles down also, because even though she might be willing to date a 50-year-old guy, most 50-year-old guys don't want to date a 37-year-old, and that's still relatively young. But it's just, as you get older as a guy, the range you're able to date at gets so much higher. So while this 37-year-old woman's looking at this 50-year-old guy, this 50-year-old guy is looking at women 18 and older, and that whole range are women he can legit go after, because most women want to date older guys and most guys want to date younger women. So this is the point where you actually have the advantage, because the 21-year-old that's passing on you now, when she gets 37, she'll have less options, but your 37-year-old self can date a 21-year-old and they have no problems about it. And I know this because I myself, in my late 20s and in my 30s, have dated women who were 19, 21, 25. And these are the same age ranges that I couldn't get a date to save my life at when I was at these ages. So part of it comes from the age, part of it comes from the fact that women will date older guys. And then honestly, the other part just comes from, as you get older, you become more self-confident. Your sex drive starts to go down a bit, which is a good thing, because right now, most of your motives for trying to date are driven by sex. And that can result in you choosing the wrong women to go after and or getting into relationships with people that aren't actually good for you. Whereas when it starts to lessen down, it's like you're no longer analyzing, I'm going to get sex. It's going to be more like, okay, this woman offers sex, but what else does she bring to the table? Does she have kids? Does she have like bad relationship in the past with other guys that she's dealt with? Like, does she have excessive baggage that she's bringing to this? What is she going to add to my life that's going to benefit it beyond just the physical stuff? And when you're able to be in that position, you now look like you're the person that now gets to choose, and you being the chooser actually makes you a more confident person, and confident men are the type of men that women want to date, which is why it becomes a lot easier to date women in your 30s and 40s, and you have a bigger amount of women to choose from, because that confidence is the thing that these younger girls are looking for. Right now, you don't have that. At 21, you just don't. You don't have the same level of confidence about yourself, your lifestyle, and what you're able to bring to the table as a 30-plus-year-old person does. So women, by default, it's not that they're going after older guys, it's that they're going after more confident guys. And it just so happens that on average, most guys that are confident about who they are and have figured out their life and probably have like either a job situation or entrepreneurial situation set up are guys that are in their 30s. So they just look more desirable by default. Now, this doesn't mean you need to wait that long, it means a few things. One, it means if you want to start being able to get more girls your age, that you need to be figuring out how to get the same kind of confidence, or at least display the same kind of confidence that people in their 30s do. And that's why I got a website you can go to read various eBooks, to look at various video trainings, and to get some of my programs, because these things will give you systems that you can use time and time again, basically repeat patterns you can use when you're going out to attract women that will build your confidence. Because once you have a system set in place, then the more repetition you do of that system, the more confident you are that it starts to work, the more results that you see. And then now you have a confidence of, when I do these things, I know I'll get women, and that alone will allow you to increase your confidence. Women will see that and want to date you more. Like, once I figured out a step-by-step system for how to date, it made the process so effortless that I no longer had anxiety. I no longer worried about going into social situations, because I already knew what to do when I got there. And I was able to just go to parties or meet up with a close-knit group of friends or do online dating. And all these things I was successful in now because I had a system, a pattern system that I use time and time again to be able to get women. And it's really, really simple. You just have to figure out what's going to work. Try it a few times. The first few times you try it, it's going to probably be kind of antsy because you're still pushing your anxiety into this thing that you're trying. But once it works one time, you do it again, it works another time, you now have something in place that will allow you to have the confidence to approach women, and that's going to make you look like the kind of guy that women want to date. And this is true because, like I said, even though it's easier to date in your 30s, there are guys in their 20s that get women. Like my brother, he was dating early on, like in middle school, high school, college, but he had the level, one, he was an extrovert, but that's not really important to this. But the point is, he was confident enough to give it a shot and see what happened. A lot of introverted men are not, because we want to analyze, we want to make sure that first shot we take is going to be the best shot and the one that works the best. And as a result, we hinder ourselves by sitting in the corner trying to study all this stuff and hoping that I'll study enough to where I can get it right on the first try. And you're not going to get it right on the first try. But part of building your confidence is going out there, falling on your face, and then saying, well, that sucked. I now learned a way not to do it. Let me go out there and do it a different way until it works. And once you're able to get that down, you'll be able to have the same kind of confidence that men in their 30s have, but just earlier in life. So yeah, hopefully that answered your question. If you found this show to be of help to you in your situation, you can show your support by clicking on the tip jar tab at introvertdatingsuccess.com. Also go to the website to check out my ebooks. I got an ebook on how to text. I got an ebook on how to win your ex back. I got a book on all about the wrong things to do when you're dating. I got a free video training there that you can look at that'll teach you the types of messages to send women on dating apps that will not only attract them, but actually get them to respond back to you. And I recently opened up the archives to my previous podcast, the Stop Losing Women podcast, and that was a show that was much like this one, was dedicated to giving you guys the full ins and outs of how this dating thing works, so you can attract the woman that you desire, become a more self-confident person, and be able to ultimately land the woman of your dreams. And I had over 400 shows, over 144 hours of content. You can decide to get that today, either on a subscription-based level or as a one-time fee. But if you're looking to get a jump on your dating game and really figure this stuff out, that program is highly helpful to you, okay? Also go to the website if you're looking for one-on-one coaching, click on the coaching tab. If you want to have a question answered on one of these shows, you can click on the contact tab. And of course, if you want to get early access to these shows before they appear on any other platforms, you can join Patreon by going to patreon.com/introvertdatingsuccess. Right now, I have like almost 2 to 3 weeks worth of shows that are published there that will be coming out at later dates. So if you want access to those shows right now, I recommend going there, becoming a patron, and you can listen to those shows today. That's all I got for you guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Harry Wilmington. Be sure to subscribe to this on YouTube. Be sure to check us out on iTunes as well. And if you're on YouTube watching this, you can show support and you can get to all the stuff I just talked about by clicking on the links below the video. I'm Harry Wilmington, and I'll catch you guys on the next show. I'm out. Peace.